everyone! Today I'm gonna do my wrap up for the second half of August. So as expected, I did not read as much in the second half, but I did read some pretty great books, so I'm super excited to do this wrap up today and talk about what I read. And yeah, I don't have anything else to intro, let's just get into it. First off, I finally finished Fire Study by Maria V. Snyder, the third and final book in the Study trilogy and the first kind of part of the Chronicles of Ixia. I am so glad I finally finished this book. I finally finished this original trilogy. I finally finished another series. It's been a while since I feel like it's been a while since I finished a series. I'm not a huge series binger anymore, simply because I read so many new releases. I really miss that. I know this took me forever, but that is not at all a sign as to how much I liked it, because I really liked it. And I think this is just a really great trilogy, a really great YA fantasy. And for me, this definitely ranks in this kind of classic YA fantasy. I still basically have the same to say about this than I had about the first two. I think the story is definitely slow, although this one was a little bit less slow than the other two, I want to say. But I just really enjoy the world building. I really love the characters. I am so head over heels in love with all of the characters. And yeah, with reading this book, I really understand why this has like a whole kind of universe and like 9 books overall, because the world is like super intricate, and this is definitely one of those worlds where it makes a lot of sense that this has more books, and also it makes sense for this character that in the later series there's gonna be more books for this character as well. And yeah, I'm excited to continue with the Glass trilogy, although I don't think I'm gonna do that this year. Just have a lot of plans for the rest of the year. I don't really foresee myself reading it in 2018, but I'm still excited that I finally finished it, excited that I'm ready to continue with the Glass trilogy, and just really happy that I discovered this series and finally gave it a chance, even if it now took me a year. But yeah, gave Fire Study 4 out of 5 stars. Then I listened to the audiobook of Avenged by Amy Tantera. This is the sequel to Ruined, which I read last month and really loved. And I loved Avenged even more. I have completely fallen in love with this trilogy, and I'm so happy because I was expecting and hoping I would fall in love with this trilogy, and the fact that it's actually happening makes me so happy. The audiobooks are so good too. I don't think I've ever been like this invested and this kind of into a story while listening, a fantasy story, while listening to the audiobook. I think the audiobooks are great, the story is great, the main character is so fucking badass. Like, the series really reminds me of The Kiss of Deception in a way, like when it comes to the world building and the themes and the story. But the main character, like, I liked the main character in the Remnant Chronicles, but like, this main character is so fucking badass. She's amazing. The world building is really interesting. The romance is... it is top notch. Top fucking notch. Honestly, at the end of the year, I could very well imagine that this romantic storyline will be in my top romantic storylines of the year. I really enjoy this whole development. I really, truly, absolutely love this. And I gave Avenged 5 out of 5 stars. I really fucking loved it. I'm so glad I'm finally reading this trilogy. Then I read A Touch of Gold by Annie Sullivan. This is an arc that I read, but I read it after the book had already come out. I did write a full-length, very detailed Goodreads review on it. This completely surprised me because I was expecting this to be a very certain kind of fantasy, and it ended up being a completely different kind of fantasy, but one that I loved, because this actually had like sea adventures, and it was like piratey, and there were sirens, and there was a amazing romance. And this is one of those books, and I love that uses the insta-love trope in an amazing way and don't, be discouraged if you hear me say insta-love, because it's really not one of those annoying kind of insta-loves. But the trope is definitely there, but it is used in a way that actually makes sense. Like, the trope is used to convey something about the main character. It makes sense for who the main character is and what she has experienced in her life. And that is how tropes are supposed to work. And in that case, they make sense and they are not annoying and they just work. They work. This worked and I loved it. This is also one of those books where while I was reading it, I was like, I want this to go into that direction. Like, please, like, stir a little bit more left. And then it did that. And I like when books do that. It's not a predictable kind of storyline, but it's a storyline that makes you crave for something and then gives you that something. And I like when books are able to do that without you feeling like you're already guessing something. I think that's amazing. The world building was a little bit lackluster, but it's not super important to know too much about the world. If you care a lot about like intricate, important world building, this might not be the book for you. For me, I felt like what we got from the world was enough for the story that was told, so I was satisfied. And yeah, I was just really happy because it ended up just taking place on a ship for like, I'd say a good 80 or 90%, and you know how much I love any kind of sea adventure stories, and it is definitely parody in some sense. And I was truly impressed with this book because I did not expect it to have all of these things, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I listened to the audiobook of The Mermaid by Christina Henry. This is a retelling of the Fiji Mermaid from P.T. Barnum, which I thought was super interesting, and like the concept and the idea absolutely intrigued me, and I also thought that that was well done in the story. I think that it's just something that's very unique, and I always say, like, I'm not really a huge retelling fan, but that's because for the most part in YA, what books do a lot is just get all of the good old fairy tales. This one, which is an adult retelling, just went for something completely different and something I've never really seen before. I also thought there were some really interesting themes in this story. There were a couple of like feminist themes about like, ownership of women and of women's bodies. That was really intriguing to me and that I really enjoyed, especially as it is also historical fiction. So, especially kind of seeing the setting that we're in, I thought that was a super interesting topic and theme. But I just didn't really love the story. I wasn't really invested with honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I wasn't invested with the characters at all. Like, I didn't really care about any of the characters, what happened to them and their relationships. So that's always a huge negative thing for me. I was just kind of having a good time while listening to it, but not being super invested. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I definitely would recommend it for the unique idea and for these great themes and topics, but it's nothing that I love or will very much remember. And finally this month I finished Summer But Blue by Akemi Dawn Bowman. I just did a review of this which went live on Friday, and I will have a link to that in the description and in the info card as always. I really cannot wait for this book to be out on September 11th. I want to throw it at people. It's one of those books that I just want to throw at people because it was that good. I loved it. I had a huge emotional attachment, but I also thought that this is one of those books that's subjectively amazing. It's just so beautiful. It deals with grief and loss in an absolutely amazing way. The way the pain was described was just astounding. You would always 100% know what the main character was feeling. The way it talked about music and songwriting and how much it can be painful and hurting, but how a lot of us also needed to heal. I'm still shook. I don't use that word a lot, but literally, that book fucking shook me. It's just so good and so beautiful. And you might know how much I care about any kind of questioning rep when it comes to romantic or sexual orientation. And y'all know how much I love Ramona Blue and how much I love that questioning rep in there. But Summerbird Blue might have been my favorite questioning rep I have ever read. Amazing, fantastic. Like, there were so many parts in there that I really like highlighted and wrote like relatable, or like, wow, this is like throwing truth bombs left and right. And just, there were so many good things in there. Like, I could write a whole review just full of quotes from this book, not only from, you know, how amazing the questioning rep was and how much good stuff was in there, but also, as I said, all of the amazing writing and the beautiful metaphors and all of that good stuff. Yeah, there's so much more to it, but if I continue gushing, I will never stop gushing. I just really highly recommend that you check out my review. I know it's long, but it's already very much a shortened version of everything that I want to say, because there's just so much good stuff in it that it's just so good. The best book about grief I have ever read. The best book about questioning rep I have ever read, I think. The best book about music and songwriting, maybe even. I don't know. I just liked the connection that this character had to music. I just really enjoyed the way this was written. As I said, please just watch my whole review because there's so much more in there. And please just pick this book up when it comes out September 11th because it is beautiful and I want everyone to read it. Anyway, this was everything that I read in the second half of August. Overall, obviously an amazing reading month. I read 17 things in August overall, which I think might have been the most that I read in any month ever so far this year. I think also page-wise, I probably read the most. But yeah, it's been an amazing reading month for me, and I hope that it's been an amazing reading month for you as well. And yeah, I'm gonna try this new outro thing. I'm not sure how long it's gonna take me to get used to it, but I need to include that if you enjoy my videos, please subscribe and hit the little bell so you get notified as well. Simply because views have been shit. Even the videos that normally get a lot of views have not been reaching even 10% of my subscribers, which is an incredibly low amount. I could live with 10% because that's kind of normal-ish, but everything lower than that, especially on the videos that normally tend to be popular, I don't know, like that just shows me that something is definitely up. And so yeah, I'm gonna try and do this new thing where I will remind you. So yeah, I hope both of us are gonna get used to that quickly. And thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon. Bye! Not doing it without that one.